Hello, everybody, and welcome to Forts Comic News, episode 402. I am one of your hosts, Chris, alongside my co-host here, Mike. Mike, what's going on, man?
Oh, there's the top five.
Yeah.
Top five. Here we go. It's
I mean, I'm sure past listeners know this, but cat's out of the bag. We record 401, 402 back to back, so we're still recovering.
We're still recovering. We picked this week to not feel great and have to record two things back to back. Yeah, it was a great year for comics. Talking to some comic shop people, we are in I would say a golden age of books on the shelves, and they're all really fucking good. So it's really hard to pick ones. That's the top five.
It was, and
it's also hard to remember like things that leaked from last year into this year, and there's books that came out last week that could technically make the list now. It's just crazy.
It's funny because I had to look at some top 10, top 25 lists to see like what people are talking about. I don't know what people are on. Ultimate X-Men's not that great. So
oh really?
Okay, but yeah, I need to do a better job this year of. I do a good job listening to TV, the video games and stuff I play to remember for the end of the year, and movies I watch and everything. I need to do a better job of listening to comics that stand out, especially for the beginning of the year.
Right.
Going back, I was like, oh shit, I forgot about that book.
Yep.
So yeah, but we'll jump right into it.
Yeah, and it's funny because my approach this year was like, okay, so I wrote like 5 down for each section, and I don't look at anything online. I never look at other lists before I finish mine, just because, like, there's stuff like that pops up like X-Men. It's like I just don't care. And I almost feel bad sometimes picking mainstream books like DC and stuff, but like they've been so good this year that it's like, yeah, I know there's a lot of good like indie comics and stuff, but like, man, like there's no way you had a year with Ivan Reis doing art and he's not on your top artists. Like, you know what I mean? Or at least for me, but like,
okay.
But that's like my opinion is like that guy's fucking phenomenal. Just stuff like that. So I put the top 5 down. I look at it and I don't squabble too much with it. You know what I mean? I don't like, because once I start rethinking it, I could change these like 5 or 6 times. Is the way I feel about it. So I kind of just put them out there initially, and I'm like, okay, I agree with these lists, but I could definitely make a statement or I can make an argument to move some stuff around or even add or take people out. It's tough.
I was gonna say I can make arguments to make this top 10.
Yeah, right.
It's just because there's so much I would like to talk about. But yeah, I'm with you. For most part, mine was pretty cemented just off the top of my head. But there were some stuff when I went back, I'm like, oh yeah, and I thought about it, I'm like, yeah, that needs to be on there. So or this person needs to be on there, so on and so forth. And I think some of it is very obvious when it comes to me.
Yeah.
Some of it might shock. I mean, I think there's at least one here that's gonna be surprising to people. Yeah. And I even tried like when I got to writers, artists and stuff to highlight books that may not be on like my top comics list and stuff like that.
Yep.
And it is tough. Like you said, Ivan Reis is a great artist. I love him. And to not have him, like he's probably number 6 on my list.
Right.
But it is what it is.
All right, so we'll start off. Which section do you want to start with? Top 5.
So we normally start with comics and then go writer, artist, multimedia. I say we start multimedia.
Okay.
And then go writer, artist, comics.
And then comics? Okay. Sounds good. All right, so multimedia. I have to remember if I started with the best or with the best. It looks like I started with the best. So we usually go 5 to 1, right? Is that how we do this?
Yes.
Okay, so my number 5 in multimedia is Creature Commandos. We talked about it quite a bit on the show. Really like it. It's a lot better than I thought it would be. It's a lot of characters that I love, like Frankenstein, seeing them, David Harbour voicing him. It's just it's the first real look into the James Gunn's DCU, and handling creature characters and making it work is no small feat. So, yep, it's my number 5.
I don't discredit your opinion, but I obviously respect your opinion. Right. But for me, I don't like to put things that aren't finished. So for me, Creature Commandos would be acceptable for next year because he could just flop next for it.
Yeah, that's true.
But
yeah,
I'm with you. Like everything you said. Yeah.
Yeah. And I will say it was hard for me to think of like multimedia comic related things, or at least like fandom related stuff from this year that I enjoyed more than Creature Commandos. So,
I did not have that problem, but
I guess I was gonna put War of Rohirrim on there too. So maybe I'll bump off Creature Commandos, but War of Rohirrim if it's something that's finished. Because
I'm not trying to convince you should. I'm giving my opinion why it's not on mine.
See, that was the thing that I was like arguing with myself. I'm like, oh, I don't have War of Rohirrim on here, and I really enjoyed that. So yeah.
But I'll say if Creature Commandos in my eyes, because these are our lists, there's not like a rule set that we have to follow. Was on there, it would be like 3 or 4 as it stands right now. So I'm with you. Like, it's great.
Yep.
But my number 5, and this is just me being me, is Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes.
Oh yeah, I forgot that came out. That came out this year?
Yeah, that came out this year.
Holy shit.
I really love that movie. I love just Planet of the Apes stuff. Yeah. It was a really great way to start a new trilogy. I thought it was a really great way to get new people into the door. And it was surprising to me because it was just not only a great intro, but a great continuation of what was before, and with a whole new director and everything, bringing in new people, like trying to capture magic in a bottle again, and they did it. So
good.
Yeah.
My number 4 was Invincible. Season, I can't remember. Was it season 3 this year? Or like part 2 of season 2? I think it was part 2 of season 2, right? I forgot what they did with splitting the season up.
I'm looking it up. I don't know what.
Yeah, I'm always gonna love Invincible. I think they're doing a great job with the show and the voice acting and all the characters that they're fleshing out. It'll always be on my list of the year it comes out for sure.
According to my rules, it's season 2.
Okay.
It started in November 2023.
But
it ended in April 2024. So
yeah, I think it was like the second half went from like January to April or something this year. Yeah, so we're getting closer to the Viltrumite War stuff. Yeah, it's just amazing characters and storytelling.
My number 4 is one that I was lazy about and I dragged on forever, and I should have just watched it right away, but it's Batman Cape Crusader.
Oh, fuck, I forgot about that. Yeah.
I couldn't believe how good it was. Yeah. It just, everything from, even seeing onomatopoeia in it.
Yep.
Having like my favorite version of Harley Quinn, which is a big task, considering I love the original.
Damn, I feel bad I didn't put that on my list. Oh my god.
And this was a last minute when I thought back on it. I'm like, oh shit, that needs to be on my list.
Just for the Clayface episode alone.
Yeah, the Clayface, like everything in that show was really good.
Yeah.
My only complaint about the whole show was that they like did a good job making a serious gentleman ghost. So like, if that's my biggest complaint, then you did something right.
Yeah, I was like, wow, an actual scary villain.
Yeah.
Gentleman ghost. My number 3 was Rings of Power season 2. So I did have something Lord of the Rings related on there. This one has a bigger budget than the first season. We're getting further along with the characters. There's a lot of book characters that show up. There's a lot of epic, like Lord of the Rings things. Like we get to see the Ents. We see the Eagles of Manwë. We see a lot of the big hits in like Lord of the Rings lore. So that was really good. And then there's a big fight between the elves and orcs and stuff like that. So I think it was a really good season. I think it was better than season 1 just because we've already established who these characters are. And it's really one of the only live action sword and sorcery things we have on TV. I mean, we used to have Game of Thrones and stuff, but
House of Dragons still on TV?
Yeah, and I can't remember if that was this year or not. I don't remember. It's hard to remember.
I don't know.
It is still on. I think it comes back next year. So, really enjoying it.
Yeah, I've been commanded to watch that show, so you might be talking with me about it in the near future.
Nice.
My number 3, and this is the one I think is going to be the shock to everybody, but it's Deadpool and Wolverine.
Oh shit, Deadpool on his top 3.
I thought it was a really fun movie. I really liked it. I keep saying it with these Deadpool movies, but I think they get better, and I think a big part of that is because less Deadpool. But
less Deadpool, more Wolverine.
But I thought it was a very good way to celebrate everything Marvel and Fox in particular.
Yep.
throughout the years, and I loved the ending with the whole like montage throughout the Fox years.
Yeah.
It was a very well done movie, and I even kind of look forward to seeing what they do with mostly Wolverine when it comes to Avengers, but I'm sure Deadpool's going to show up in that movie too, and I'll be very interested to see how they like tie that all in.
Yeah.
But as a singular movie on its own, I think it's the best MCU movie since Black Panther 2, maybe?
Like post Infinity War?
Yeah.
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 And that was my number 2. So my number 2 is Deadpool and Wolverine.
Yeah.
Just for you got Wesley Snipes to come back as Blade, and you got him to say
there'll be only one Blade.
Yeah, there will only ever be one Blade. And I was like, that's it, man. You're on my list. Like you said, it was a lot of fun. And man, I fucking love those Blade movies. So you got Wesley Snipes to put that suit back on, and yeah, I thought it was awesome. They did a really good job with Gambit, bringing Chris Evans back as Fantastic Four. Johnny
Human
Blaze,
Torch.
Human Torch. Yeah, it was just awesome. Nothing else needs to be said, I think.
Yeah. It would be higher on my list if they found a way to get Affleck back as Daredevil, but
yeah, I couldn't get him. Nope.
So my number 2 is the Penguin,
nice.
Which I feel like is gonna be your number 1.
Yeah. Yeah, probably. Yep.
Yeah. It started off a little weird, but it just from there got so fucking good.
Every episode it gets better. Like every episode gets better and better.
Yeah, it's to this amazing conclusion that like both as you're cheering for this character throughout the series,
yeah,
and then they make you just hate him again at the end.
Mm-hmm. And they do a lot with so little. I mean,
yeah,
there's nobody in suits. You know what I mean? There's nobody's wearing costumes. It's just dudes hanging around, crime families talking to each other, but it's really fucking good.
It's a crime mafia show. Yeah. And the one time they even allude to something comic accurate was the last episode when they show the top hat and cane.
Yeah.
And even that, like, he doesn't put it on, he doesn't use them, they just show it.
Right.
It could have been, it's always easy to throw, the Riddler in there or something,
I mean, they put in Bloom, right? They put in Bloom from...
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It would have been easy to put those characters in as their comic accurate version to like get us excited, and they avoided that. And when they did Bloom, who's like the most niche fucking or a Batman villain you could think of,
right?
That people would actually know. So I thought everything they did here was phenomenal.
And another really good thing they did with the show that they did with the movie Matt Reeves did was they made Gotham its own character for sure. Yeah. Like each section of Gotham you're in, it felt like its own. It felt like a living character when they're in the part that was hit by the water. They're at the part, the areas where like the clubs are, where the rich people are living. I think they did a fantastic job. So yeah, I mean, it's on my number 1 spot. I've talked about it enough, but man, and also Colin Farrell, what the fuck?
Give him awards.
Yeah.
Just give it to him.
Even the kid, that no-name kid, that plays
Victor.
Victor, yeah. Wow, that kid was great. And the actress that plays Sophia, I mean, those 3, damn, they were all so good.
And if Batman Part 2, Matt Reeves, if you're listening, just start the movie right where start the movie with Batman looking up at the bat signal. Yeah, like right there.
Yep,
and just go.
It.
Yeah,
just go. Yeah, and also Penguin as a politician in the next Batman movie. Fuck yeah.
Yeah, and I love that they're keeping Colin around.
Yeah,
they're keeping the Penguin as a character around. Like, yeah, it's so good.
So you're number 1.
My number 1 is Delicious in Dungeon Season 1.
Oh man, yeah. See, another thing that came out I loved this year. Yeah,
I fucking love this show.
Yeah,
I love this manga.
I feel so bad that dude, there's so much stuff that came out.
Yeah, it's so much fun.
It is
so good.
Yeah.
It's so funny to me because we go down and like we just talked about Lord of the Rings thing. We've been talking a lot about Conan Barbarian. I'm talking about Delicious in Dungeon. This is all fantasy related stuff, and I would have told you 3 years ago I don't like fantasy.
He lies.
Sometimes you gotta attack your biases, people. Yep. I'm telling you, it's a fun show. It's a good show. It's a deep show. The animation's great. It was one of the few times where I wish it wasn't week to week. I wish it just gave it to me all at once because I was just so intrigued in it.
It's so rough waiting.
But yeah, definitely, I just can't recommend it enough, and I'm just so looking forward to the next season.
Yeah, I've been thinking about buying the manga just to read it because I don't want to wait.
I want to dig deeper into manga. If I wasn't so backlogged on my books, I would be just buying and buying and
buying. There's so many volumes of it out too. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's a long, deep manga, and I just really want it.
Yep. We're going to writer now.
Yeah, let's do writers next. Okay. I think that's what I said at the
top. My number 5 writer is Scott Snyder.
Oh.
To get me to care about Batman again. I think so. He did an interesting thing with Absolute Batman. He literally took, I don't know how many issues he did with New 52 Batman, but you did your grand plot. You had some highs and lows of that story, but at the end of the day, I read every issue of that, and I thought, man, this was a definitive Batman run. And then for him to come out, and I think it was the point where the elevator turns into the Bat car. Where I was
the tank.
This dude still has shit in his little Batman notebook to write, where it's I'm excited to read his Batman. It's crazy because I think if I picked this book up immediately after Batman ended, I would have been I'm not excited for this. But for the fact that he's writing it again, and it almost seems like he's yeah, I've been here before. Now I'm having fun with it. I was yeah, I got to put him on the list. I mean, he's not number 1, obviously. He's not doing anything that we haven't seen him do before, but it is a seasoned Batman writer doing what he knows and with a twist on it. So I had to put him on there.
Yeah, I'll say it comes back to me. There's 2 things here. It comes back to the whole thing I've been saying about DC for a while now, which is they know how to let things sit and then bring them back with a bang. Mm-hmm. But also it makes me think of my biases a little bit because I was so rough on Jeff Johns coming back for JSA.
Yep.
But Mark Waid on Justice League, fuck yeah. Scott Snyder on Batman again, fuck yeah. So there's something there that I need to think through, but not on my list, but I'm a little surprised on that one.
Yeah.
What is on my list, number 5, and this might be recency bias, but it's not, is Jim Zub. I love those Conan the Barbarian books. I've loved that he's made an event book out of Conan. He's was helming the whole Savage sort of Conan thing.
Mm-hmm.
Everything Conan the Barbarian's been so great this year, these past 2 years, and this year in particular has been some of my favorite Swords and Sandals books that I can think of. Yeah, all the credit in the world to him, and it was just a pleasure to have him on episode 400 as well.
Nice. My number 4 is Kelly S. Thompson. I didn't read Birds of Prey last year. I mean, that wasn't my cup of tea, but whenever she writes something that I am interested in, I think she does an amazing job. Absolute Wonder Woman it's a Wonder Woman book with kaiju, so there's not a whole lot for me to and I would say, I don't know, Kelly typically writes I would say this isn't her norm to have this heavy-hitting action book, but also she does a great job of the world building and the magical side of it with Wonder Woman being rooted in magic. And just the conversations that Wonder Woman has with the army generals as this is how you should be writing it in the movies. Wonder Woman doesn't need to bow to the US. She doesn't have any allegiance to us. She could just be fine, whatever, you guys fuck yourselves over. Goodbye. I think she does a great job of handling Wonder Woman's voice of at the end of the day, she's a demigod and she doesn't give a fuck about us. And just from that alone, this is the Wonder Woman I want to see moving forward, even on the big screen, that type of attitude. So, that's why I put her on number 4.
I'm going on a limb here, and I think writers, we're going to have one that we share, and artists, we're also going to have one that we share.
Okay.
Because my number 4 is Dave Pose. Which is not the one I think we're going to share.
Mm-hmm.
He did that Punisher book at the beginning of the year that was a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
And then he did that book at Mad Cave, The Devil That Wears My Face, that I really enjoyed. but this is mostly a Space Ghost award. I fucking love Space Ghost. I think he's doing his best work of his career in that book, and it's only getting better. Like, The Devil That Wears My Face was a really great book, and I thought that was a step up for him, but Space Ghost is another level. Enjoyed his stuff for a long time, but I just think he's growing as a writer, as a creator. And I'm excited to see where he goes next year. It's just Space. I love Space Ghost. I was an easy selling Space Ghost, but to make it like one of the best books out in the market,
easily the best book out there today for sure.
Yeah, so to make it that is huge, and I know Dynamite's really excited because, I mean, they had hopes for every book they put out, but I know
they're on the map again. People know who Dynamite is.
Yeah, like they had no idea it was gonna be this big.
Yeah.
So yeah.
David, my number 3 is Cullen Bunn. I feel like he shows up every year, but this is the guy who wrote. He's got Gatchaman. He's got a Godzilla versus Power Rangers Part 2 out, which is crazy that we got a second version of that. And then he's got a book like Ghost Lore, which is like fantastic horror world building. And I'm sure he's going to have 35 more books out by the time this comes out. But the dude just writes a lot. And I think, and it's like, it's not even just quantity over quality. The stuff he writes, I want to read. So it's like not fair.
I was gonna say, I think he wins just based on mass.
Yeah, just mass alone. Like, if we're saying, okay, quantity times quality, like it doesn't even matter the quality. But no, he is putting out great books. He knows how to cater to the fan base. He's boosted up this Gatchaman franchise that I think is a big hit as well. So yeah, good for him.
Number 3. So originally he was off my list, and then I started looking back at this year.
Mm-hmm.
Then he's on it. Chip Zdarsky.
Oh yeah.
I think we said it a million times. Batman, when it's not bogged down by events, was really good.
Yeah.
I'm really enjoying this last story arc. Public Domain is a really great independent book that's insular, and I can get why a lot of people aren't reading it, but I think it's just really well done. But a book I really loved this year was Avengers Twilight.
Oh yeah.
It was a 5-issue series that was just phenomenal. Kind of a typical superhero thing. It's superheroes, but they're old men now, or women. And what happens when the threat comes back. But just the way it was done, the book, the way it was written, everything, it was an amazing title. So he popped up the list just when I remembered that book existed.
Nice. This would be my number 2. You might be surprised by this. Just because I've probably caught up on a lot of books this last week or so, more than I've caught up with anybody. And that's Jim Zub. Yeah, I really.
So that was not the one I thought we would share, but interesting.
I really like Conan. I never would have picked up a fucking Conan book. I mean, I literally went to a comic shop this week on my lunch break at work and saw a bunch of fucking Conan books in the $2 bin, and I'm like, man, am I gonna buy this shit right now? Like, am I gonna buy these class? Like, what am I doing with my life?
Making
that was
better
never me.
Is what you're doing.
Yeah, but it's so because you see these big volumes of these Conan books, like, how fucking good could this shit be? And these are the thoughts I had. And Jim's a big name. His ties to Dungeons and Dragons, I respect wholeheartedly. And when I picked up that Conan book, like I wasn't joking when I said it reads like a D&D module, which is amazing. It's like, Conan puts his fist forward and drives the sword through the beast, and like all of Conan's dialogue is just like, you know what I mean? That's how you write a Conan book. But the things he's doing with Conan, I never thought could be done before. I mean, he's building these characters around Conan, where I don't even care about Conan half the time. The story arc I read where he goes to the Thieves Guild, and it's a heist book, and turns Conan into a zombie. The first book, he's like with some Native American nomads woman who's like, a better fighter than he is, and like teaches him all this shit. And it's like, and now he's like drunk in a bar and depressed because he killed, his like latest love interest got killed. It's funny because I love Barbaric. Barbaric is one of my favorite books of the last few years. But this is doing a thing that Barbaric's a lot of tongue in cheek, right? That's what separates it from this style of book. But this is sword and sorcery to its core, and like Conan with feelings, but not having, like, he gives Conan feelings and not having feelings all at the same time. And I mean, the art, it just all comes together. And I really respect the guy. I think he's a great person. He understands the fan base. So yeah, he's my number 2.
Yeah, Conan's a great character just to be like that blank slate.
Yeah,
to be put in any position, like any world,
but
whatever.
He's doing such fucking crazy things with him, and it's like, oh, he made him a zombie. Oh, he was in a thieves guild. Like, it's like a Adventures in Waterdeep book to me. Is what it feels like. But
I would be really interested to see. Now, David's Savage Avengers is good, but the Savage Avengers that came out before that, which I believe was Jerry Duggan.
Yeah.
I'd be really interested to see how you feel about that, because that is Conan leading an Avengers team.
Okay.
And I fucking love that book.
Yeah.
But I would love to know your opinion of it. So if you can get to that and you can find it cheap or something, like, do it just for content's sake.
Yep. Okay. For the content.
Yes. Number 2. One of my new favorite writers, Alex Segura.
Oh, yeah.
So the Question book's only 2 issues in, but I think it's really well done.
Yep.
His Star Wars book that's kind of bridging the gap between episode 6 and what they're doing moving forward. But really, it's Dick Tracy. Like, that book is so much fun. Yeah, it's so great. Really I can't just recommend it enough. And I was so happy. I thought it was a 6-issue series. It's an ongoing.
Oh, nice. Wow.
So issue 7, I believe, is in the drive, ready to be read. So I'm just excited to check this out or to continue reading the series. I love his style. I think he's doing some really cool books. I've been going back and seeing the other stuff he's been doing. I'm even reading the novels he's writing. So, yeah, he jumped on the scene this year for me personally with that Dick Tracy book, and now it's a matter of his name's on the book. I'm probably gonna check it out.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
My number 1 writer is David Posey, because just what he did with Space Ghost. I mean, he talked about it. I never read a lot of David's stuff. I read Devil Wears My Face, and I liked it. But the space, like, for him to take Space Ghost and just fucking make it this like, we can't even find it at comic stores.
Yeah,
like Space Ghost, you can't find it at a comic shop. Like, if you walk into any comic shop, I bet you anybody, you walk into any comic shop right now, they won't have a Space Ghost issue on the shelf. That's not an easy feat, because I do remember when they first had it with those Hanna-Barbera reboots. A lot of those books were on the shelf.
Yeah, when DC was doing them.
Yeah. So that's it alone. I think if you're not reading this guy's stuff, you should be. And I know it's funny because Chris has been preaching to me these last couple of years about Jim Zub and David Posey. I feel like I finally figured it out, guys.
And it's funny too. Space Ghost, you say it's hard to find on the shelves.
Yeah.
From a publisher that's notoriously overprints everything.
Yes. Right. Yeah. You can't. Yeah. It's my shops around here. Nobody's got them.
So it's really funny. We matched 2.
Yeah, we had 2 on our list. That was funny.
I'm about to my number 1. It's not on your list, but my number 1 was the one I thought we would match on. And it's Joshua Williamson.
Yeah.
The architect of DC right now.
It was like a toss-up between him and Scott. I mean, yeah, Josh is doing a lot of great stuff at DC.
Yeah, for me, it's 2 books. Technically, it's 3 books, but it's 2 books.
Yeah.
It's Superman.
Yep.
This has been the best Superman we've gotten in a long time.
That's true. Yeah.
Like, it's a Superman I look forward to every month, and this is all you have to know. When the Superman book that he's writing is better than the one Mark Waid's writing, that says a lot.
That's true.
I just think he's been killing it on that book. He knows. Yeah. I hope he's on that book for a long, long time. And then he's been doing a ton of DC stuff. Some I'm not reading, some I am. But he's behind everything DC right now. Even the DC All-In one-shot was him and Scott working together.
Yep.
Scott kind of being the architect of Absolute, Josh being the architect of DC proper. That's been great. And then he's doing the G.I. Joe stuff. Like this.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
I think you can really... I was thinking back the last few years, you can really pinpoint like where my fandoms begin for stuff. Like you could probably pinpoint a few years back when Conan hit it for me.
Yep.
This is the year of G.I. Joe for me.
G.I. Joe,
and it starts with Joshua Williamson, that Duke book.
Yeah, that Duke book is really good.
Yeah. And then I'm reading the G.I. Joe ongoing. I went and bought the not compendium, but 50 issues of original G.I. Joe stuff because of him.
Yep.
Yeah. He might have been my number one last year. I don't remember. He seems to be on the list almost every year now because he's just so good.
Yeah.
And doing so many books, and they're all good. I mean, not all good, but what I'm reading is really good.
Mm-hmm.
So
it's awesome.
Josh, yeah.
Yeah, he should have been on my list for sure. I could have gone through and added more people.
And I'm going to throw out there this year, because this year I've been trying like hell to get Josh in the show.
Yeah.
Hopefully this is the year, but yeah.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
Busy man.
Yeah, he is. Artist. Number 5 for me is Dan Mora. For what he did on World's Finest this year, the Justice League Unlimited #1, drawing all those JL members that we haven't seen in a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, his art is just DC has is fucking stacked on artists right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, Dan's been around for a while, but he could just draw every character so well. And some of those pages and the multiverse stuff, especially for World's Finest, was just amazing stuff.
Yeah, I think when you look back at this year and why DC creatively is kind of doing so much better than Marvel, not only was a lot of Marvel long-timers coming out of contracts and moving over to DC, but they have fostered some really great art talent that
it's insane.
Marvel has good art talent, don't get me wrong, but DC's art talent is just at another level.
Yeah, it's insane.
My number 5 is Jonathan Liu, which is the artist of Space Ghost.
Yep, makes sense.
You're going to hear Space Ghost a lot today.
Yeah, that's an amazing art.
I love that art in that book. It's so good. I think when this book is done, he will 100% be picked up. I'm kind of hoping by DC, honestly.
Right.
But one of the big two. Like,
yeah,
he would be such a phenomenal Superman artist.
Oh, for sure.
He hasn't missed an issue yet. So I'm interested to see how much he can do. Can he do 12 issues a year? Can he do? I mean, right now I've only seen 8, so I don't know. But what he puts out is phenomenal. And I think I said from the first 5 issues, I'm like, Space Ghost shouldn't look this good.
No,
like,
it shouldn't.
You don't need to go this hard on a Space Ghost book.
That's part of the problem. You open up that issue, you're like, what the fuck?
And yeah, it's unbelievable. So I can see him on a Superman book. I think he'd be a great Green Lantern artist. Like, he's got chops to do big 2 stuff.
Oh, for sure. Easily. A Galactic book like that, yeah.
Yeah.
My number 4 was Alex Linz from Plastic Man No More.
No?
I think, for one, he did an amazing job drawing Plastic Man, like, depolymerizing. And then he, on the other side, anytime he interacted with the Justice League, he had that Saturday morning Justice League cartoon art, and I thought that was an amazing choice. But if you just look at those pages of Plastic Man, I mean, it's not easy to draw a man that can just bend himself in any direction, but I think that art just goes very hard for a Plastic Man book.
And doesn't he? So I've only read issue 1 as we're recording this.
Yeah.
Did he do both eras, like the flashbacks where it's more cartoony, and then the modern where it's more?
I think he does it all. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's really impressive too.
Cool. Yeah, some of those pages of like the panel setup and everything is not normal, not typical. So I thought it was something special with those 4 issues.
Number 4, and David just continues to push artists up my rank, but Alex Cormack from Devil Wears My Face.
Yep. Great art.
He's an amazing horror artist, man. Like, he gets it. I love the way he puts things together. The blood, everything he does is done so well. And also, it fits my sensibilities, where I think that horror it's very easy to overdo it.
Mm-hmm.
And his subtlety in moments is really great, but then his like big bombastic moments are just as great. It's like, yeah, that book is beautiful. It's from top to bottom, like one of the best horror books of the year, in my opinion. As a guy who doesn't read a ton of horror, so take that with what it is. So yeah, I love that book. I love that art. I am looking forward to seeing where he goes, like what he does, because he's a new name to me this year. So
yeah. My number 3 is Evan Cagle from specifically New Gods. That, hands down, I opened that issue, and the epic art and the scale of that book I mean, I don't think I've looked at anything like that. I mean, it's I know New Gods isn't everybody's thing, but that like galactic feel, and then he brings everybody down to Earth, obviously, but like you get the source wall images. I mean, that again, DC is stacked. Like, this wasn't a guy I even had on my radar, and I'm like, okay, Ram V's got an artist on his book, whatever. And I opened that book, and I was like, holy shit! Like, I forgot who was writing it for a second. I was completely blown away, and that, I mean, I haven't had a book do that to me at all this year, where I opened it and I was like, my god, like, so that, I mean, just from that reaction alone, I was like, and he's done some stuff before, I think, with like, the Authority maybe, and he's done some other stuff at DC, but like nothing like this. I was like, holy shit, amazing.
Yeah, I mean, just to see more from him.
Yeah.
Number 3, right?
Yep.
Brian Hitch.
Nice.
Red Coat.
Mm-hmm.
I had to pick one of the Ghost Machine books, and I think that's why Ivan Reese didn't make it. I
have 2 on mine, so.
Yeah, I love Red Coat. I think Brian Hitch is a great artist. We've known him forever.
Yeah, he's been
But
around.
This book in particular, with everything that's going on in it, all the background work he's doing in this issue, just it's almost another level. But at the same time, I look back at like some of the stuff he's done, and he's been doing this forever. So
yeah.
I really love this book, and I had to shout it out somewhere, and I thought that Brian Hitch's art was the best place to shout it out.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. My number 2, Jason Fabok for Rook Exodus. Fabok's been around for a while, and I think I have to think that what's his name? The guy running all of those books.
Jeff Johns.
Jeff Johns knew what he was doing when he pulled these artists over. All these artists working on these books are on another level.
Can I add real quick?
Yeah.
Back to like DC as great artists.
Yeah.
It's more impressive that Jeff stole
all the best
4 of their best artists.
4 of their best artists, and they're still killing it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So these are guys that were like nurtured at DC that are now just killing it with these books. Yeah, Rook is an amazing book. I mean, the creatures, the masks, the world building, it's all there. Yeah, it's fantastic.
This is my one I thought we'd have in common, and we do.
Uh-huh.
So I feel like with artists I was correct.
Okay.
Dan Mora.
Yeah.
Number
nice.
2.
Yep.
Yes, World's Finest, and that alone might get him on the list.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But he's been doing the Superman book recently.
Yep.
And I've really loved it. And then, what the fuck, Mike? Let's also throw in Justice League Unlimited in there.
Yeah, why not? Throw it in there.
The dude, once again, is drawing every book at DC.
Yep.
And never missing a deadline. And it's not crap. It's really, really good. He's one of, if not the best artists at DC right now.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just so impressive. Yeah, I love him.
He's doing amazing stuff.
I don't know. I've made this joke a million times. I don't know how he cloned himself, but dude's putting out like 18 to 20 comics a year.
I don't know how he does it.
And doing covers. Yeah, he did like a ton of covers this year. Yep. It's unbelievable.
My number 1 artist, we already talked about it. Ivan Reese. And he's doing Hyde Street right now. Again, Jeff Johns pulled him over. But some of those pages on Hyde Street, those splash pages, he's doing horror now. Really nasty, horrific looking stuff. His stuff has always been so like ultra detailed. It's almost like too realistic style, and it's and that type of book, it just makes it so much more creepy.
And he's the style I think of when I think of superheroes. Like he's the prototypical superhero guy. So it was really,
and for him to be going into this book where there's it's completely not typical of him and absolutely killing it. Like,
he was my favorite artist at DC for a long time. Like, yeah.
Now he's doing a horror book.
And shout out to him. It did make my top 5 for the comics.
Uh-huh.
So I guess spoilers, but that Titans Beast World was this year. I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
And he's the artist on that book.
I forgot he did the art for that. Yeah.
Yeah. Shit. And it should be on my top 5 because it's so impressive that you got me in a Titans book, and I loved it so much.
Yeah, that was awesome.
But Ivan deserves a lot of praise. But my number 1
was that the book where Beast Boy turns into like a Starro?
Yeah, and then dies, and then they bring him back. Yeah,
I forgot.
That book's so fucking
good.
Yeah,
it was really good, man. Damn.
Yeah, they made me love a Titans. Like,
that was crazy.
As a matter of fact, Tom Taylor should be number one for getting me to care about a Titans book.
Yeah.
But no, Mike, my number one artist is Gerardo Borges. So he was the artist behind that book, No One.
Okay.
Which I really enjoyed. I thought it was really good. The art's really phenomenal in it.
Mm-hmm.
It goes to Dick Tracy though. Like he's the book that the artist did Dick Tracy.
Okay.
It's another one of those books where like you didn't have to go this hard on the artist, but you did, and I'm so glad you did. Dick Tracy's a beautiful book. It's the perfect artist for that book. And he's another guy who I mean, it's a different skill set than we were talking about with who we were talking about earlier that I said would make the jump. Oh, Jonathan Lowe.
Yeah.
It's a different skill set where I could see him doing Batman or Daredevil or, more of a street level character, but he's a guy that could make the jump to the big two easy. And
yeah, for sure. That Dick Tracy book is amazing art.
Yeah.
All right, we're going into comics now, folks.
Yeah.
My number 5 this year.
Did you have any shout outs before we get? Because I have a few of it.
Shout outs for comics?
Yeah, like stuff that didn't make your list.
You do your shout outs. I'll try to think of some stuff.
We talked about Titans Beast World. I want to shout that out. Dick Tracy's another one. Yep. I mean, obviously I have Alex and Geraldo on my list. Mm-hmm. Shout out to that. And then it hasn't finished yet, so it breaks my rule.
Okay.
But the last issue was so good, which is Uncanny Valley.
Oh yeah.
It's 6 issues into a 10-issue series, so we'll talk about it next year most likely, unless they fumble it. But I mean, that big reveal with Mickey, it blew my mind, and I'm a guy that hates public domain stuff. So, yeah.
I don't know, man. As far as shout out stuff, everything has been so good this year.
Yeah.
I didn't put it on my list, but obviously I'm loving Conan right now. Like you said, Jim's up doing events and building a world around Conan. Is really fucking good.
Yeah.
And then was it this year that there was was there a necromancer book that Lanzig and Kelly did? Was that this year or was that last year?
Oh yeah, Principles of Necromancy.
Yeah, was that this year?
Yeah, that was this year.
See, it's like so hard to remember some shit sometimes. That was a really good book. I think that didn't make my list, but I really enjoyed it. Yeah, I think there's just so much good stuff. But I tried to stay away from the big heavy hitter Batman, Superman stuff on here. But my number 5 doesn't really follow that rules.
Yeah. I was gonna say shout out to the Absolute Universe too, but I didn't think there was enough issues for them to be my tops. But that's for me. And I know it's not going to be for you, but yeah. I
mean, all you got to do is put a giant monster in the book.
That's why number 5 is Absolute Wonder Woman.
It is Absolute Wonder Woman, folks. I know I've talked about this book. I mean, Wonder Woman wasn't my favorite in the Trinity by far. I know she's had some great runs in the past, but this is by far my favorite Wonder Woman. It could be because of the giant Buster Sword. I don't know. There's kaiju. She's a magic wielder, which I think is awesome. Why not make her wielding magic? And I think the world building is amazing. And again, I think the voice of Wonder Woman in this book it should be the voice moving forward.
So opposite of you, I did not try to stay away from big, because if they were my favorite book, I was going to put them on.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
But my number 5 is from Boom Studios.
Oh,
Man's Best from
nice.
Pornsat.
Yeah,
Chetso.
Yeah, Pornsat.
And Jesse Longgun.
Nice.
I mean, like you said with Wonder Woman, I'm an easy mark. It's animals in space.
Yeah, right.
Specifically, it's a cat in space.
Yeah.
But it's a really heartwarming book. It's a great book about teamwork and friendship and all that bullshit. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, it's not an all ages talk down to me book. It's a very deep, complicated book that I think he's stumbled across something that it seems like he's going to do another series of it. It's earlier in the year too, which I was amazed that I remembered. But yeah, I think it's a really great book, and I think more people should check it out. It's
nice,
just a ton of fun.
My number 4 is Rook Exodus. Finished up this year with the first story arc. I really enjoyed it. Again, we're not rewriting existential philosophy or anything like this. It's It's a sci-fi planet. These people have masks that control animals. There's some other fucked up shit going on there. I really enjoyed this first arc. I thought the characters were really cool. The art is absolutely amazing. This feels like a book that it feels like a 90s book, really. But I really enjoyed it, and it hit all the marks. Every issue was a banger, and then they finished it off strong, and then left you with another story arc coming that you can see. So I thought it was really good.
My number 4, Superman.
Nice.
Superman. Joshua Williamson, Rafa Sandoval, Dan Mora a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like Superman, but to make him one of my favorite books is a feat.
It's been a really good run this year. I should have shouted out to it more, but
yeah, I just think from issue 1 it's been a great book, but this year in particular has been really great. I love the Brainiac story.
Yeah.
What they're doing now with Doomsday is great. Just so much good stuff. So I had to put it on there. It's
my number 3 is Godzilla Here There Be Dragons 2 Sons of Giants. This book's really good. I'm not a big history buff, but when you start retelling history through the eyes of kaiju were here that developed our...
What kind of buff are you, Mike?
Yeah. If you put Godzilla in the history books, I fucking read them all. This book is really good. Talks more about Godzilla throughout our history. It gets people like Aaron Burr and all these people together, and then there's an alien invasion happening. It's a great Godzilla book, and the characters are also really interesting. And I think they have something. The first series is about pirates. This time we're in the start of the American Revolution and things. So it's pretty crazy. Every issue is really cool. There's a lot of cool reveals, a lot of cool references to Godzilla stuff. So they're doing a great job. And the fact that it got a second, volume is great. So
yeah. My number 3 from Image Comics, The Schlub.
Oh yeah, The Schlub.
Remember this book?
Yeah, I remember.
From writer Ryan Stegman.
Yep.
And artist Tyrell Cannon. It's a fun comedy book,
right?
And it's almost like New Gods, but if Orion's powers got transferred or consciousness got transferred to some doof.
Yeah.
And then what happens? Yeah, it's a fun 5-issue series. I don't think they're going to do more of it. I hope they don't, because it just fits on its own as is. Can't recommend it enough. And I'll say I picked it up because I'm Stegman's writing.
Yeah, right.
He wrote that one issue of Venom. I remember that.
Yeah.
But it ended up being really great, and just can't recommend it enough.
My number 2 is Dark Knights of Steel All Winter. I know you said it wasn't your favorite, but I do like. I'm a huge Deathstroke fan. Number 1. I'm also a huge Swamp Thing fan. Number 2. The change in the characters, the black and white with the color was amazing. Mr. Freeze being the big bad lich, sorcerer. It was like a Vikings tale. It was a lot of brutal fighting and stuff. I just thought it was a really cool world building, and to have it set aside across from the Dark Knights of Steel main book. No, I thought it was one of my most sought after reads when it would come out. So I would have to read that first. I just really liked it.
Interesting. Not to hate it, but we're on different paths with that book.
Yeah, I'm a simple man.
Which happens.
Yeah.
Because my number 2 is Avengers Twilight.
Okay.
I know you didn't read that.
No, I didn't read that.
Chip Zdarsky and Daniel Acuna. We talked about it a little bit with Chip, but in the writer's section. But yeah, the Avengers in the future, it's an easy concept, but I love the way he set up the book. Every issue introducing a new Avenger at the end with the big reveal. Seeing the reveal of Red Skull's behind it all. So at the end of the day, it is Captain America Dark Knight Returns, which I'm a mark for.
Yep.
Yeah, I just can't recommend that book enough. I think it just goes on this pantheon of there's not a Chip Zdarsky book or like, you know what an Ed Brubaker book is.
Right.
Like, you know what a Mark Waid book is. I don't know if you could pinpoint what a Chip Zdarsky book is, other than to say it's quality.
Yeah.
And this is another one that's just like so far out of what he normally does. And it's amazing. It's one of my favorite books of the year, obviously. So
nice.
Yeah, can't recommend enough. Like everything on my top 5 since I said that every single time.
Yeah, right. My number 1, which is probably not a big surprise, is Space Ghost. Yeah.
Funny enough, my number 1 is Space Ghost.
Wow. So if you don't take anything back from this episode, you should be reading fucking Space Ghost.
Yeah.
I didn't really care about Space Ghost before this series came out, and again, it's the first book I read when it comes out. It's amazing. Space Ghost himself is awesome. The characters around them, the villains, the art is epic. The situations Popose puts him in. I mean, it's just all around. It's an amazing book, and anybody should be reading it.
Yeah, and it's another one of these things I love about the dichotomy of this podcast. Like, I'm the opposite. Like, I'm a big Space Ghost fan. I love picked up every comic. I watched the cartoons when I was younger. I even love those Adult Swim series.
That's all I know him from is Adult Swim. So it's
like I watched the old Hanna-Barbera cartoons when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And he took that material and made it serious, made it modern and good and
gritty. Yeah.
Yeah, like I said a billion times in the past couple hours of our recordings, but this is the best work David's done in his career. And to do it on Space Ghost is amazing and special. And
insane.
As somebody that's a fan of this, I'm so happy about it.
Yeah.
It's well deserved and
for sure.
All that.
We'll have to have him back on the show.
Highly recommend, Mike.
Highly recommend. Everybody should be reading this. If you're not reading this book, what are you doing? Get out of here and go read it. But that's it. There's no more lists.
How do you feel about the lists?
They're pretty good. Pretty good. There's definitely some stuff. I mean, I always read through it. I'm like, yeah. And it's tough because, the stuff, like you said, the stuff at the beginning of the year, I'm going to have to start writing down when I know it's good.
I really want to keep better notes from beginning of the year because when I went back to some stuff, I'm like, oh yeah, that book. Oh yeah, that book. And yeah,
it's hard to remember like miniseries and stuff that came out. So
yeah, as criticism I see a lot in different fields, but like recency bias is a thing. I mean, I think I did a decent job of not having bad recency bias, but yeah, it is a thing. So
I don't think I did. So. I'm a monkey see, monkey do kind of guy. Oh well.
Next year, Godzilla ongoing, number 1 book of the year.
Yeah, I'm gonna have my Godzilla books like 3 out of the 5.
Godzilla versus number 2 book of the year.
Hell yeah. Of course, come on. I have a type, guys. It's it's big monsters.
Simple man with simple pleasures.
Yep. There's no big monsters in real life, so I have to read them in comics. That's just how it goes. But
well, Mike, for the last time in 2024, where can people find you on the
internet?
Me
at Fortress Ricker on Twitter/X. Where can they find you and/or the show?
You can find me on X at Fortress Chris or online at chriscomicscorner.substack.com. And if you want to follow the show, it's Fortress Pod on X and fortresscomicnews.com. And the 5-star reviews are appreciated. The like, subscribe, share, comment down below is appreciated for the YouTube version. And if you visit Patreon at patreon.com/fortresscomics, that's also appreciated. And while for you all, it is now 2025 as this hits on New Year's Day. For us, this is the last time in 2024 we will say thanks for watching and or listening, and we'll see y'all here next week.